I don't get it. Hello people, it's been a few days. Over these last 5 days, including Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I've participated in 8 shop tournaments for Standard. If you're curious about my placements, I mostly finished up in a bunch of thirds and then managed to win it once. Now the reason why I'm participating in so many tournaments in such a short time span, I'm also going to another one in literally an hour and a half, is because the WGP season is about to start here in Japan, starting with WGP Nagoya, which is a team-based tournament, and only the top 2 teams of every WGP qualifier make it into the national finals somewhere in January or February. I can't really remember exactly when it is supposed to be. And right now, we're basically in a brand new standard meta because DB206 just came out, and there is also a very, very, very hot promo pack that includes some pretty important cards like the Eva Promo, Eva Promo, especially the Eva Promo. This foil version of this card goes for about 50 bucks, and the non-foil goes for 20 to 30, and this will be a shop promo in English too, so you better get ready to grind those shop tournaments. So part of the reason I'm grinding shop tournaments is for these promos, but the other reason is of course because I'm trying to practice and decide a deck for the WGP Nagoya in 2 weeks, which I'm going to with my team. And now normally, you know, when I'm more busy with classes and work, which luckily right now I am not as busy with as usual, I would go to maybe like 2 shop tournaments per week, whereas now it's been 8 in 5 days. And before this period started, I kind of had some expectations on what the meta would actually look like. You know, I was like, okay, Prison is still going to be everywhere, Gravia is going to be everywhere, Bruce is probably going to be showing up a fair bit, and then I'll probably see like a fair few of the new decks, especially Youth Park because it's like very popular, and probably Nirvana Jiva somewhere here and there. But there's been some decks showing up, and even decks that I'm playing myself, that are way better than I expected, and there are way too many good decks in this meta, and I am honestly quite confused. So in today's video, I'd like to talk about some of these most interesting and confusing highlights, as well as what this meta is shaping up to be, because we haven't had any major results just yet. There's been a few like unofficial large-scale tournaments being held, which I'll make a separate video talking about those results, but I feel like when you just look at those results, you don't really get a full picture of what people are playing in shops and practicing for WGP. And also quickly talk about what I myself have been playing in most of the events, and especially going to be focusing on this week. So to give you an overview of what I've been playing and where I've been playing, on Wednesday I went to Takadanobaba, which is the sort of student area of Tokyo, and there I played Youthburg and went 2-2 and thus ended up placing somewhere like 8th or something. Definitely wasn't too happy with my placement, and it feels like the deck, while it is fun and can be pretty strong, it does kind of run out of gas, and a lot of its like engine is like break even, because you lose a card usually to draw a card or search a card, so you're rarely actually raw plussing that much in that deck for now. Then on Thursday I went to a tournament. Where was the one on Thursday? Carwell Tower in Akihabara. That's a store that I'm sure a lot of you actually know as well. I played Heroes in that tournament because I was expecting to play in the booster trial this Saturday, which unfortunately didn't make it into. I was in the queue for it, but unfortunately it filled up before I could actually make it in, and then I managed to make it into the one this weekend, but then I'm doing commentary, so I can't make it for that one either, so that's a bit unfortunate. Heroes felt okay. They actually are a lot more tanky than you'd expect, and I managed to beat more games, managed to win more games than I expected, and I'm pretty sure I went X1 in that tournament, so I think I placed 3rd overall. Then on Friday, I went to my usual shop that I go to even during my busiest periods, which is Shaka Shaka, which does tournaments on Friday evenings. There I played PBO because I was kind of feeling it, and I was definitely using these first 3 days to just like experiment random decks, and PBO felt good in testing, but then when I actually sat down and played, I just ran out of gas most of the time and didn't really feel too good about the deck. And thus, when we got into Saturday, I played 3 tournaments in the same day and actually posted up a little tweet about my overall record, which you can see here. So I played Buff Saga for the entire thing with a new promo and had a lot of fun with it. Buff Saga definitely felt quite potent and it could actually beat quite a lot of decks. Only times I really lost to were either to getting OT'd, which of course is going to happen when you play 11 rounds in a day, and other times just kind of like not opening early shield cards against matchups where I want to guard early in order to not get, you know, my face pushed in before they get to grade 3 and then push my face in even more. This is specifically against matchups like Nirvana, where you really want to stay on like 1 or 2 early, or just like a bunch of decks where you want to stay on low damage early so you can just like soak up a bunch of damage in the later game and just like bank on defensives to survive in that sense. But the entire time I was running these tournaments, I was on the hunt for a specific promo, which of course is the Eva promo, because I feel like Eva as a deck actually has a lot of potential and is one of my potential picks for WGP Nagoya as well. And unfortunately, the promo pack that Eva is in is also together with 8 other promos. There are 9 different promos in one pack, and you only get 1 pack for participation, and then you get another pack for winning the tournament, and then everyone but the winner can play rock, paper, scissors players with the shop owner, and then 2 people that win rock, paper, scissors will get an extra pack, which then means you get another shot at opening the Eva Promo. But as you can see, there's a lot of ones that I don't really care about and ended up kind of getting those more than anything. I already had 2 Eva Promos before this because of our little trip to Osaka that we did the week before that, and I managed to pull one, and then our good buddy Ayrton managed to also get one, and he offered it to me in exchange for McDonald's, which is a pretty good value deal if you ask me. And so I was just chasing for the last 2 Eva Promos, and I was playing Buff Saga and also just scouting out what I was being, matched against and what the meta really was. But then I managed to hit my 3rd Eva Promo, and then I borrowed a 4th, and then on Sunday I played 2 tournaments with Eva, won the one in the morning, and then I tied twice in the one in the afternoon because I ended up playing the mirror match, which is really, really hard, and then it feels like they cut the last round short because there was a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament coming up and they needed to free up the space. So that's some context. And now let me talk about the thing that actually surprised me and why I'm so confused about this meta, because we have so many decks that are expected to be good, right? We have Mahar, that is obviously a very good pick. We have Kairi, which is getting even further support at the start of September with the Lyrical set, which is legal for Nagoya, by the way. We have Gravidia, as usual. We have Seraph, Prison, which is expected to be good. It's one of my personal potential picks for Nagoya as well. We have Bruce. Bruce has been really good after this set. Grade 3 Bruce is basically back in full swing and everyone is playing it and trying to relearn the combos. You have like Barrow topping here and there, Overlord being a very good pick as well. Asakura Yo from Shaman King is the deck that I simply cannot beat. I literally lost one tournament and the opponent explained to me how to beat the matchup because of how desperate I've been getting. So when Shaman King comes out in English, make sure you pick up Asakura Yo if you want a fast aggressive deck that asks your opponent to reveal 3 cards from their hand every turn, and you get some free access to public knowledge that you might not have had otherwise. So you have a lot of these like expected good decks, right? Expected strong decks, like Bastion is still kind of lingering there. PBO has been picking up some waves, like Fegre has been doing well in English as well. Flagberg with the promos here is also very good. Buff Saga has always been kind of popular. So there's a lot of these decks that have already been established and already been expected to be so good, but I feel like right now we have these 2 other kind of like pillars coming up, where one of them is the popular new decks that people are just playing because they're new and cool, obviously. The number one of these is Youthberg. Like, I think every single tournament I went to, I faced Youthberg at least once because everyone likes playing Youthberg. It is cool. I myself also really enjoy playing it, even if I don't think it's necessarily that strong right now, but it is very fun to play. Like, the moves and like the general movement of the deck and the pace of the deck is very fun to play, and it's just overall like it's just a nice feel to actually execute with that deck too. And then you'll sometimes run into a Leonorn. Like, one tournament I lost to Leonorn because I just didn't draw PGs, and if you don't draw PGs, like, you just have to eat like the 40k plus 3 drive attack, and so if they crit then it's over. And then I've been running into things like Chaos and stuff like that because with the new promo the deck is potentially better than Marrow because they spread plus 10k to the whole board and Mikani restands for free, so you get 5 attacks and most of the attacks are hitting for like 20-30k plus, which is pretty damn good. And so speaking of Chaos, you then have the decks that are supported by promos that are popping up a lot. I talked about Overlord earlier already and Buff Sagara, but from this promo pack itself, you have Greedon that's been picking up a fair bit because it got some really good support in BTO 6 as well as the promo pack 2. But the biggest surprises by far for me have been Eva, which, surprise, surprise, I actually personally play myself, and Hexor. We live in a timeline where Hexor might actually be one of the best picks going into WGP season. Now, I don't think Hexor is best deck by any means, but because WGP is a team tournament, and in WGP the rules are that you cannot have the same nation overlapping in the team, I think most teams will be like Dragon Empire, Brancate, and +1 extra, and that extra could just be Hexor. Hexor got a bunch of really cool cards where essentially they finally got plussing engine, so there's a grade 2 that looks at top 2, and you may add both them to hand, and if you do, you put a card from your hand to the bottom of the deck without showing it to your opponent. And then they also have the ability to countercharge consistently. They have previous tools from past sets where they search Persona right and they restand their rears. They also have a promo in this promo pack that lets them Soul Blast 2 to countercharge and draw and inherit trigger power from other units. And they also have extra soul charging capabilities as well. And they again have a way to Persona right every turn while triple driving, and every trigger that is hit is doubled. So it is virtually Gravidia with even more plussing / potentially 4 attacks as well, and a consistent countercharge engine and everything else. So The deck has been popping up a lot, and every turn I've been to, there's been like 2 or 3 Hexor players, and it's just been picking up waves. And some of the top players in Japan have been promoting the deck pretty actively, which kind of tells me that this deck is to be watched out for, in addition to stuff like Bruce that's been picking up, as well as all of the existing sort of DB204/Festival Collection decks as well. And now the other deck, of course, that I'm playing myself is Eva. Now, why Eva is considered to be so good with the new promo is that with the new promo, the one promo, this one single card that I keep popping up here, and I'm going to pop her up once again. This one card does 5 things. It's a grade 1, which means that because this deck needs 3 research orders in the you know, the set order zone, you set 1 on your turn 1, you say your second one on your turn 2, and you say your third one on the turn 3, which means on turn 3 you have 3 active, which means that Obscudate gets the crit and full power for its swings, and all your effects are also searching more cards from the Eva search as well. So if you don't know what Eva does, she's basically a card that lets you CB1 to look at the top cards of your deck equal to how many research orders are up top, and then you add that card without showing it to your opponent and put the rest at the bottom, which is really huge. You don't reveal that information. And then she multi-attacks with Obscudate, which is kind of like her guardian, I guess, who comes out of the deck or from the hand, and it functions as a 23k beater with an extra crit if called by an effect, and he has 10k shield and intercept as well. And this order, the second point of it, is that it lets it not be retired, which means Gravidia cannot touch it, and neither can Bafsagara either. On top of that, Eva has another research order, the grade 2 one, that binds the opponent's cards, which means that if you bind the opponent's Esperal Idea, that means they lose the Verena and the whole original dress stack into the bind zone, which they cannot get it back from, unlike the prison. On top of that, this card also counter charges and soul charges, so that's already 5 points. No, that's already 4 points, sorry, I'm even showing 4. And it gets the Obscudate back from your drop zone, which means it's 5 strong points for why this order is so good and why it turns Eva from a deck that you don't even play to a deck that is potentially the counter to this meta. Now, I don't know when exactly this order is going to come out in English, but if I were you, I would probably, like, if you have any interest in playing Eva, I would definitely not sell the Evas that you maybe pulled from your BTO5 boxes and think about picking them up as soon as possible. So yes, this has been my video talking about this meta. It's a very interesting meta, and I'm still going to be going to so many tournaments throughout this week because I want to use these upcoming 2 weeks that I actually have a lot of break on to just like run through tournaments like every day if possible and really get as much experience out of them as I can to help decide what deck I'm going to be bringing for WGP Nagoya, because at this point it's either going to be Eva or it's going to be Gravidia or it's going to be Prison, and I'm not the biggest fan of playing Gravidia these days, so it's going to be one of the two, I think. So yes, I hope this video has shown how interesting and confusing this meta is, which you might not find from just looking at tournament results of the CS tournaments where all you see is Nirvana, Bruce, and then like Prison or Gravidia in most teams, when in reality, when you go to these shop tournaments every day, you see some funky stuff. There's also a lot of Orphist. That's another deck that's been supported in BTO6 that's been popping up everywhere. Orphist is a really strong and really aggressive deck now. Only problem is it kind of runs out of gas by turn 5, so you really have to just go in fast and try to win the game fast. So yes, hopefully this has given you a insight into the Japanese meta here in the early stages of BTO6. I'm going to probably do another video somewhere next week talking about the meta after the second Dogma Cup of this month, because that one will give us even more results of the top 4 kind of distribution of the teams. And then we actually have 2 big team tournaments that we can take a look at for standard results and how the meta is shaping up the week before Nagoya. That video will also actually feature deck lists. This one's just kind of just me talking about ideas and things that I've seen. So look forward to that one if you actually want to see some lists and all the kind of stuff going into the DB26 release. But anyway, that's gonna be it for me today. If you liked the video, please give it a like, and if you haven't already, please do subscribe. But otherwise, I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.